Hey guys, I'm back with another video, and in this video, I'll share some things to consider while buying a new smartphone. Well, it's some important things. So, roll that intro. Let's start it off with budget. Now, keep in mind that your budget determines your phone's features. Now, you can't expect flagship quality features for a lower budget, so expect accordingly. Or I'll give you one better. Save more money and buy a better device. Now that sounds better, isn't it? So, with that out of the way, let's move to the smartphone itself. And the next thing is the battery. Now, I've seen people give the least amount of importance to the battery aspect of a smartphone. Now, remember, the battery is what makes the phone tick. So, think accordingly. Anything below 3500 mAh is not recommended for 2020. Now, if I were to recommend some battery rich phones, I'd say the Moto G Power, Realme 6, Samsung Galaxy A20. Now, these have immensely big batteries for their price. Now, moving on, here's something that I consider is pretty important when buying a smartphone, and that is the phone size. Well, most people don't have huge hands, so it's better to look for a smartphone that fits in your hand because it's personal experience. But I have to say this, having a tall or a large smartphone can be very difficult and insanely clumsy to carry, and single hand usage is a complete nightmare and it's more prone to falls. Now, the next thing to consider is a smartphone's display. Now, there are a lot of fancy displays out there, but I have to say this, not everyone can differentiate a 4K display and a Full HD Plus display, as there is very little difference. So, instead of the screen quality, go check for screen brightness. Also, the type of screen really matters here. Now, there are two types of display, AMOLED display and TFT LCD displays. An AMOLED display is more power efficient and a bit on the costlier side, but it produces deeper blacks, whereas TFT LCD is cheap to produce but is not as power efficient as an AMOLED display. Now let's talk cameras. When it comes to smartphone cameras, people have this misconception that more megapixels means good images. I just wish it was true, but it isn't. Now, high megapixel counts are only a part of taking a good quality image. Now, the rest is with the image processing done by the smartphone's AI. So, two same camera sensors in different phones will give you two extremely different pictures. So, instead of the megapixel count, it's better to get an in-hand experience or look for a camera comparison. There's a lot out there. Oh yes, I almost forgot. If you like what you see here, like the video, share this video, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's a lot more coming up. I can wait. Go on.
2 hours later.
Now here comes the nerdy part. Internals of a smartphone. People often don't look if a smartphone has a dedicated SD card slot. Now I'd say it's pretty important as it gives you more flexibility when it comes to storage, and it's also part of future proofing. So yeah, there you go. So next is the processors. Now this is where things get a little bit more nerdy. Qualcomm Snapdragon, MediaTek Helio, and the Samsung Equinox are the major chipset manufacturing companies. If you were to include Huawei, you'll get the Kirin chipsets too. There is a lot of debate regarding this, but I'd say the Snapdragon series is the best when it comes to performance and graphics, followed by the Helio series and Equinox, and maybe the Kirin next. But talking about Equinox and Kirin, it's not the best performers out there. Now diving deeper, we move on to RAM. Now there are phones with 16 GB RAM, but yeah, it's a bit too much of an overkill. So for casual usage, 4 GB RAM should be enough. Now for gaming, I'd recommend a minimum of 6 to 8 GB RAM, especially for heavy games like Call of Duty Mobile, PUBG Mobile, Fortnite, and so on, because these games are intensively taxing on your processor. So keep that in mind. Now, as a final note, if you really want an overall good phone which is good at performance, camera, battery life, display, and so on, your budget needs to be up there. I mean, if you lower your budget, certain compromises have to be made in certain departments of the smartphone. And this is usually seen in the build of a smartphone. For example, most mid range smartphones will have plastic builds because plastic is cheaper to manufacture. Now, these are the things that are to be considered while purchasing a new smartphone. Don't rush into buying a new smartphone. Smartphones these days are insanely costly. So, choosing a smartphone for your preferred needs will save you a ton of money. That's it for this video, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.